Hey guys, it's Miss Calkins coming to you from the garage classroom. So today we are working on our polynomials unit. We're going to continue with multiplying polynomials, and I'm actually going to break this up into two parts. So we're going to do a part today with it and a part tomorrow. I think it's almost too much to do it all in one time. So we're going to do some of the more basic problems today, and then tomorrow we'll amp it up just a little bit and do a little bit more complicated problems. So before we start with actually multiplying polynomials, I want to remind you of something we talked about at the very beginning of this year when we did operations with exponents. So remember that if you multiply terms that have exponents and a common base, so we said that when you multiply things that have the same base, you add the exponents. And that's back, remember when we talked about this acronym MADSEAM? So when you multiply things that have the same base, you're going to add the exponents. So you need to keep that in mind as we go through the problems today, because when you multiply things, your exponents are going to change. Yesterday, when we added and subtracted it, your exponents didn't change. But now that we're multiplying it, your exponents will change. So just to review some of the examples that we've already talked about, if you have x to the fourth times x to the fifth, there are two terms that have the same base where your base is x. So if you multiply x times x to the fourth and the fifth, that actually is going to give you x to the ninth power. If you have 2y to the third times y to the fourth, and remember there's actually a little 1 there that you don't see. So you do multiply the coefficients. So 2 times 1 is 2. And then when you do y to the third times y to the fourth, that's actually y to the seventh. And then the last one, again, this is review. So you have a coefficient this time, so you actually multiply the coefficients. So 3 times 2 is 6. And then when you have y to the fourth times y to the negative second, that is going to be y to the second, because 4 plus negative 2 is 2. So just keep that in mind as we go through these problems, this old stuff. So when we have 1, 2, and 3, for examples 1, 2, and 3, we're multiplying a monomial, a one term, by a trinomial, 3 terms, or in this case, you've got a polynomial that's a little bit bigger. So these are a little bit simpler because this is just straight distributive property. So you're going to multiply this term times this term times this term, and that term times that term. So the main thing to remember is to make sure that you get every one of the terms inside the parentheses, that you remember to multiply it by the 2x to the third. So when we do this first one, we have 2x to the third times, you can call that 1x squared. So 2 times 1 is 2. X to the third times x squared is x to the fifth. So the first term in your answer is going to be 2x to the fifth. Now we're going to do 2x to the third times negative 3x. So 2 times negative 3, that's negative 6. X to the third times x. Remember, there's a little 1 right there also that you don't see. So that's going to make that x to the fourth. And then 2x to the third times 4. You're just going to multiply your 2 times 4. That's going to be a positive 8. There's nothing to combine with the x to the third. So that's just going to go on the end right there. So your final answer for that one would be 2x to the fifth minus 6x to the fourth plus 8x to the third. So again, guys, if you wanted to pause the video while you're watching this so you can write down the problem if you're going through the notes with me, and then you can try to work it out with me while I'm working it out, that would probably be the most helpful use of this video. So number 2, we're going to do the same thing. Every one of these terms is going to be multiplied by x squared. So x squared, you can consider there a little 1 right there. X squared times 5x to the third is going to be 5. X squared times x third would be x to the fifth. You're going to add those exponents together when we're multiplying. X to the second times negative x to the second is going to be negative x to the fourth, because that's like a positive 1 times a negative 1. And then x squared times 4, there's nothing really to multiply there together, so you're just going to put that together, and that would be 4x squared. So your final answer for number 2 would be 5x to the fifth minus x to the fourth plus 4x squared. So this last one, and they can get really, really big as you go through this. So we're trying to start with some of the basic ones, but you're going to hit every one of those with that first term. So 4x times 7x to the fourth, you're going to multiply your coefficients. 4 times 7 is 28. X times x to the fourth would be x to the fifth, because don't forget there's a 1 on that. So you would add those exponents together. Your second term would be 4 times -3, that's -12. X to the first times x to the third would be x to the fourth. Your next term is going to be 4 times -2, that's going to be -8. X to the first, remember there's a little 1 right there, times x to the first, that's going to be x squared. And then your last one is just 4x times 3, so that's going to be a positive 12x. So your last answer for this would be 28x to the fifth minus 12x to the fourth minus 8x squared plus 12x. So again, if you go through this and you're like, I don't even know what she's talking about, make sure you write it down so you know what to ask me a question on in the Zoom session if you're joining us in the Zoom sessions. All right. So part 2 is when you have a binomial times a binomial. So we've got 2 things times 2 things. So I'm actually going to show you a couple of different ways. Let me erase this. I'm going to move that down. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways that you can approach this. This is what happens. These 3 examples are when you have a binomial times a binomial. Okay? So this is what happens when you have an expression with 2 terms times an expression of 2 terms. The first thing you can kind of think about is that rainbow effect. So the first thing that I'm going to do, everything in this parentheses has to get multiplied by the x squared. So I'm going to do x squared times this, and I'm going to do x squared times that. So x squared times 2x is going to be 2x to the third. And x squared times 3 is going to be a positive 3x squared. So that's my result after I multiply the 2 things together. And then or multiply both of them by the first term. And now everything is also going to get multiplied by that -4. So when you do -4 times 2x, that's going to give you a -8x. And when you do -4 times 3, that's going to give you a -12. Now it happens in this one that I don't have anything I can combine together in that step, but a lot of times when we multiply binomials, you're going to have some things you can simplify. I can't simplify any of this because none of these are like terms, like we did yesterday. So that's one way you can do it. You just have to make sure you multiply everything by the x squared and everything by the -4. Another way that you can do this problem is something called the box method. Some people love the box method. Some people are like, no, that box thing doesn't work for me. So I'm going to give you a couple of different things, and you pick what works best for you when you are working out these problems. So if you do the box method, I'm going to put each term from my first expression on the top or on the side. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put it on the top. So that's going to be an x squared on here and a -4. And then along the side, I'm going to put a 2x and a 3. And then you just multiply what comes together on those boxes and put everything together in the end. So in this box right here, it's going to be the product of 2x and x squared. So that's going to be 2x to the third. This box right here is going to be the product of 2x and -4. So that would be -8x. This box is going to be the product of 3 and x squared. So that would be 3x squared. And this box is the product of 3 and -4, so that's going to be a -12. So you've got your 4 terms for the answers, and you just write them with the biggest exponent first. So that would be 2x to the third, a positive 3x squared, a -8x, and a -12. So if you notice, got the same exact answer that I had at the top. It's just a different way of organizing it. If all these little lines and this kind of rainbow thing is a little bit confusing for you, you can do the box method. It takes a little bit more time to draw out the box, but if you're paying attention, it'll get you to where you need to be. All right, the last thing I'm going to show you for number 5 and number 6. So if you notice in number 5 and number 6, these are binomials, just like number 4 is. So you could do they call it the claw, some people call it the claw or the rainbow. Anyway, you could do this method, you could do the box method, or you can do something called the FOIL method. So FOIL. And it's really just another way of doing the distributive property, but it kind of helps you remember exactly what you need to do. So when you do the FOIL method, the F stands for the first terms. So it just means you multiply together the first two terms in each one of the parentheses. So when I talk about the F, it's going to be x to the second times 2x. So that's going to be 2x to the third. And then O means the outer terms. So it's going to be x squared times -2. So that's -2x squared. The I stands for the inner terms. So that's the two terms on the inside. So that would be 3 times 2x. So that would be 6x. And then the L stands for the last terms in each one of the parentheses. So that would be 3 times -2, and that's -6. So really all I did there was distributive property again. It's just another way of remembering it and make sure that you have all the numbers exactly where you need them to be. There's nothing else I can do in there. That's as simple as I can get it. So again, I multiplied the first two terms together, I multiplied the outer two terms together, the inner two terms together, and then the last two terms together. So I'm going to do the FOIL method on number 6. You could do the box method for number 6. You could draw the lines and do the rainbow effect, either way. So in number 6, if I do FOIL, I'm going to do x times x, and that's going to be x squared. Then I'm going to do x times 2, that's going to be 2x. Then I'm going to do -4 times x. That's going to be -4x. And then I'm going to do -4 times 2, and that's going to be -8. Now, that's what I have there is not wrong, but I want you to look at that because we have some terms in there that we can put together. If you look at this, we can combine these two middle terms together because they are like terms. So just be aware of that and make sure you're putting your like terms together. So my final answer would be x squared. 2x minus 4x is -2x, and then the -8 on the end. Okay, so if you watch this all the way to the end, I appreciate it. And if you watch this all the way to the end, I want you to send me an email and tell me that you watched this all the way to the end, and I'm going to give you a virtual homework pass for doing that. So just send me an email if you made it all the way to the end of the video and let me know, and I'll give you a virtual homework pass to use on one of your assignments for the week. All right, thanks guys. See you tomorrow in Zoom. Bye.